There's this condition that is incredibly common, but a lot of us just don't really get it. And the weirdest part, the biggest clues aren't always in your head, they're often in your body. We're talking about generalized anxiety disorder, and we're about to break down what it really is. I mean, who hasn't felt this, right? A pounding headache, that feeling of being totally wiped out, or your heart suddenly racing for no reason. And you probably just brush it off, thinking, oh, I'm just stressed, or maybe I'm coming down with something. But what if your body is trying to tell you something much deeper? So check out this real life story. A 53-year-old woman walks into a hospital with some very real, very physical problems. She can't sleep, her head is killing her, her stomach is in knots. So the doctors run all the tests you can imagine, and they find absolutely nothing wrong. Imagine how frustrating that is. You feel sick, but the tests say you're perfectly fine. And here's the kicker. Her story isn't some rare exception. A whopping 2/3 of people with anxiety disorders actually go see a doctor for physical symptoms first. They're going to a cardiologist for heart palpitations, a GI doctor for stomach trouble, or a neurologist for those headaches. It's like our bodies are waving a big red flag, trying to get our attention long before our minds are ready to admit what's really going on. Okay, so that leads us right into our first big topic, these strange signs. We tend to think of anxiety as just a mental thing, worrying, feeling scared, but these physical symptoms are the body's actual, real response to all that psychological stress. And let's be super clear, these symptoms are not all in your head. They are real, physical signals that something is out of balance. So you're probably wondering what happened with that woman, the one whose tests were all normal. Well, her story really shows us that point where regular, everyday worry crosses a line and actually becomes an illness. It turns out she was diagnosed with Generalized Anxiety Disorder, or GAD for short. Now, what exactly is that? According to the official definition, GAD isn't just you worrying about a big meeting next week. No, it's this constant, kind of free-floating worry about all sorts of different things. Your job, your health, your family, money, and it's really hard to control. And it's been going on for at least 6 months. But it's not just the worry. To get a diagnosis, you also have to have at least 3 of these 6 things going on. Feeling restless or on edge, getting tired super easily, having trouble concentrating, feeling irritable, having constant muscle tension, or struggling with sleep. See how this all starts to connect back to that woman's story? The insomnia, the aches, it's a total body experience. Okay, but let's be real. Everyone worries. It's a normal part of life. So what's the difference? How do you know when it's just regular stress and when it's something more? This is a really important question, so let's figure out when it might be time to get some help. All right, here's the big difference. Normal worry. It's usually temporary and about one specific thing. But with GAD, it's persistent and it's kind of about everything. But really, it all boils down to 2 key things: suffering and impairment. First, how much are you suffering? Is this feeling just completely overwhelming? And second, how much is it messing with your life? Is it getting in the way of your job, your schoolwork, or your relationships? If the answer is yes, we're talking about more than just worry. So if you're listening to this and wondering, where do I land on that spectrum? There are actually tools that can give you a clue. One of the most common is called the GAD-7. It's just a simple questionnaire. Now, it's not going to give you a diagnosis, but if you score a 10 or higher, that's basically a big signal that, hey, it might be a really good idea to chat with a professional. And you know what? Making that call, having that conversation, that's the first step on the road to getting better. And the best part is, GAD is absolutely treatable. So let's talk about what that path to recovery actually looks like. Generally, the approach to managing GAD has 2 main parts, and they really work best when you do them together. First, there are lifestyle changes you can start making yourself, and second, there's professional treatment guided by an expert. Let's start with the stuff you can do yourself right now. These are powerful, science-backed strategies you can start using today to give your mental health a real boost. And look, the science is pretty solid on what actually helps. For exercise, we don't mean a lazy walk in the park. The goal is at least 30 minutes 5 times a week, and you've got to get that heart rate up. For sleep, the magic word is consistency. For nutrition, we'll get into the specifics. And meditation, man, even just 5 to 15 minutes a day can do wonders for calming your nervous system. And while we're on the topic of nutrition, research points to 4 specific nutrients that have strong evidence for supporting brain health. We're talking about omega-3s, like from fish oil, vitamin D3, and 2 B vitamins, folic acid, which is B9, and B12. Okay, on to the second part, professional treatment. This usually means psychotherapy or talk therapy, and sometimes medication. It helps to think of it like a 1-2 punch. The medication can help turn down the volume on all that internal noise, all the static and the physical symptoms. And that makes space for you to do the real work in therapy, where you learn the skills to tackle the root causes and keep it from coming back. I love this analogy from one of the doctors whose work we looked at. He said trying to recover from severe anxiety without any support is like telling someone with a 104-degree fever to just try harder to cool down. It doesn't work. Sometimes you just need that medicine to break the fever so your own body can start to heal. But of course, even when you know help is out there, it's totally normal to have some worries or questions of your own. So for our last section, let's talk about some of the most common concerns people have. A big one people always ask is about the medicine itself. The fear is, will I get hooked on this stuff? Will I ever be able to stop taking it? And then there's the other huge fear, right? The one about the future. What if it all just comes back? Is this just going to be my life now? Look, those are completely valid questions. Seriously. And while the short answer is that modern medications are generally not addictive and therapy gives you the tools to handle future bumps in the road, the real answer is it's personal. Everyone's different. And that's why nothing, absolutely nothing, is more important than just having an open, honest talk with a professional. They can help you figure out a plan that's right for you. So, all of this leaves us with one final big question to chew on. If you had a 104-degree fever, you wouldn't think twice about getting help. If you broke your arm, you'd go to the ER, no questions asked. So why? Why do we so often hesitate when it's our mind that needs healing? It's really something worth thinking about.